What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. We got a few things to talk about today. Um, First, we'll talk about Christian Leary, and then there's some Georgia Tech fans that just need to be outright slapped in the face for what I'm seeing and hearing them say on the internet, which is where I exist. So, first of all, Christian Leary no longer with the team. The official report is personal reasons. So, personal reasons. He's no longer with the team. Now, putting two and two together, I guess. Haven't seen him on the field much. I guess he gets to save a year of eligibility if he sits out now and enters the portal, and then he can go and play somewhere else. So I guess I hate to see it. Like I'm not one of these that when someone transfers out, I'm like, I hate the worst for them. I hope everything, I hope that they suck at their new school or whatnot. Like, I don't care, man. I honestly hope the best for Christian Leary. Here's what I will say about that, though. I will never, and I mean never, apologize to a parent again when I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. I gave some of the most mild criticism of Christian Leary, which was really that he wasn't living up to his potential in my eyes, which I don't know why any parent would care what I have to say. I'm just some idiot that blabbers into a microphone with a cheap setup. Parent ended up getting mad at me about that. I walked it back, and I won't do that again. Here's the thing with some of these parents that C-Dog actually talked about with a player that was in player's parent that was in the Facebook groups, like, y'all need to support this team and these kids, and they're out here working so hard. Like, look, y'all get to leave, and then that's it. Like, you don't have to deal with Tech anymore. I'm here for the long haul. So I don't just get to transfer teams. I mean, some people do that. Some fans do that. They're not real fans, though. Like, if you just go root for a better team, as opposed to the one you've grown up rooting for, traditionally rooted for, I don't consider you a real fan. By the way, that same parent was a live stream I was doing as I was leaving Clemson, trashing Eric Singleton Jr. because he had one bad game. So, make sense of that. So that's the Christian Leary thing. Number two. All right. I've got two different things that need to be addressed. Maybe technically three. I don't really know where some Georgia Tech fans get off saying and expecting some of the things that they do. Some of them I feel like just don't know much about football. They just see a play and like, that play was good and that play wasn't good. And that's kind of the extent of their knowledge. The people saying that Haynes King needs to be benched are insinuating that Haynes King is the problem with this team and or offense. Slap yourself right now. Haynes King had like 370, 380 yards of offense yesterday. Well, he ran for 60 and threw for like 312. Yes, he made one awful decision. But let me give you a little smack upside the head. He's been our entire offense this season. We haven't had any run game. So he's our leading rusher right now. It's not even close. And he's throwing the ball very well. So I don't get where the Haynes King is the problem with the offense is coming. You're basically, if you say that, that's like saying I don't know football without just directly saying I don't know football. Or you're literally blind. You're either that or literally your eyes don't work. And someone's selling you a bill of goods who's watching the game for you. By the way, the kids in the record books, in Georgia Tech record books, had a historic season at Georgia Tech last year. We have two bad games, and then you guys are like, oh, need to bench Haynes King. This is awful. No, the problem let me just tell you what the problem with this team is right now. The problem, first and foremost, is pass rush. First and foremost. Second, pass defense. on the defensive side. 3, we can't run the ball, especially between tackles. And yes, 4, we're not is coaching. We're not as well prepared as I think we ought to be. The play calling is a little suspect. Who knows? Is that Brent Key being more heavy-handed? Is that Buster Faulkner changing? Who knows? All right. But that leads us nicely into our next point. The Key is an awful coach, budget hire, and/or needs to be fired, in conjunction with Buster Faulkner is now an awful coordinator. Let's first address the Buster Faulkner thing. There were several ACC schools and one that were willing to hire him as their OC and get him paid, and at least one group of 5 school that was ready to make him their head coach last year. He turns an offense that was like 120th in the country, 115th in the country, into basically a top 25 offense. Again, two games that we struggle in and lose, and now fire everybody. Everybody sucks. The whole coaching staff is awful. You guys are out of your minds. Out of your absolute minds. So maybe give the guy a chance here going through the rest of the season and see how things do before you want to start firing people in the second year of their contracts. I hope that the people that are saying this about Key and Faulkner, I hope that you get promoted to tomorrow at work and you get put in charge of a project that's just been awful for your company, historically awful. And they'll say, okay, we're going to give you a year running this project to fix it. Or this is how much time we'll think it'll take to fix it. And then I hope in the second week, if it's not working out, that you get fired. Because that's exactly what you're advocating for these coaches. That's exactly what you're advocating for. So I'll tell you what I did. Because here's the truth. You guys are acting like what I would expect Bama fans to act like in DeBoer's second year under similar circumstances. And by the way, DeBoer didn't take over for a historically awful coach. He's taken over for arguably the best coach that's ever done it at the college level. You guys have like goldfish short memories. You guys forget that Jeff Collins did nearly irreparable damage to this program over a 3.25-year span. You guys forget about that, about 3-9, 3-6, and 3-9. You guys forget about losing to Citadel. You guys forget about being the laughing stock of the entire college football world. Brent Key is taking over for the worst coach in Georgia Tech history. And I've got the numbers here to pull it out. I've pulled up the last 40 years of coaches for Georgia Tech. Because again, you guys are acting like we've been Bama for the last 15 years and you want to stick your nose up at what's happening right now and feel like you're a little bit too good for it. Miss me with all that. All right, so let's look at it. Let's look at the past 40 years of Georgia Tech head coaches. Going all the way back to Curry. Curry averaged 5.75 wins per year at Georgia Tech. He had one bowl win in 4 years, never won the division, never won the ACC, never won the national title. Now, I'm just pulling this off Wikipedia. If there's something weird because this was 40 years ago, I apologize. And also miss me with but Pepper Rogers and Bobby Dodd and all these people. No one cares about that. No one cares about that right now. 40 years should be a sufficient amount of evidence for you. All right. Bobby Ross, historically great coach at Georgia Tech, right? He had to have averaged like 9 wins a year. I mean, he won a national title at Tech. No, Bobby Ross averaged 6.2 wins a year. He had 2 bowl wins in 5 years, won the division once, won the conference once, won the national title once. It was all in the same year. But Ross won 2 games, 3 games, 7 games, then 11 and 8. Won 2 bowl games. All right. Bill Lewis, For anyone saying Bill Lewis might have been as bad as Jeff Collins, no. He averaged nearly a full game a year better than Jeff Collins did. He averaged 3.6 wins a year in 3 years. Never did anything, obviously. Then O'Leary, right? O'Leary must have averaged 9 wins a year or so. No, he averaged 7.42 wins per year, which is nearly the best in Tech history. All right. He had 2 bowl wins in 7 years, won the division once, won the conference once. So the guy that we hail as one of the greatest coaches in Tech history averaged about 7.5 wins a year. Gailey, there's one guy I saw that's been commenting in every comment section about, Key's a horrible hire, Key's a budget hire, Key needs to be fired. Key is Collins 2.0. And then people saying Key is Gailey 2.0. Think about how insulting that is for what Key's taking over, for the guy that's the worst coach in Tech history, and he's making less money than that guy. For people that are saying, Key's a budget hire. You know why Key is making what he's making right now? Because he's taking less money to get his assistants paid. That's why. So the guy is doing everything he can for the university from a financial point of view. If he's not the lowest paid Power 4 coach in the country, he's in the bottom 5%. Oh, but let's fire him and label him horrible coach after 2, games that he loses. Speaking of Gailey, though, another historically good coach at Tech. 7.3 wins a year. Better than Bobby Ross. And, nearly as good as O'Leary. On average, had 2 bowl wins in 6 years and won the division once. Then Paul Johnson, the guy, and by the way, I've seen Goose around. Now the triple option people are coming out of the woodshed. As Tantor said, you can't run it anymore. There was a chop block called in that game against Louisville. You can't run that offense anymore. And if you're saying that Tech, needs to go back to run the triple option, then you're basically saying then we don't need to worry about recruiting ever again. We really don't need to worry about being nationally competitive. That's what you're saying. You're basically throwing in the towel. But Paul Johnson had to average 9 or 10 wins a year, right? No. About the same as O'Leary and Gailey. In fact, they're a 1/10 of a win per year between each other, between Gailey and Paul Johnson. 7.3 to 7.45. Paul Johnson in 11 years won 3 bowls. 3 bowls, which is the most bowl wins by a coach in the last 40 years. Again, for all the Key's, an awful coach now because he's lost 2 games. This is where we're coming from, though. You guys act like we've been winning 9, 10, 11 games a year, winning our conference every other year, winning national titles every, twice a decade or something. He won the division 4 times, won the ACC once. And then obviously Collins. Key in his first, I'm not counting these people's interim years, by the way. Key in his first year is already in greatest coach of the last 40 years category or best coach of the last 40 years category. There isn't a single coach in the last 40 years that's averaged better than 7.5 wins a year. So this is my question to all you people that, Buster needs to go, Key needs to go, all of this. Or that Buster's an awful OC now and Key's an awful head coach and he's stupid. That's what a lot of people are saying. These are the same people that'll fan police me, by the way, when they don't agree with me. Yet they'll come out and say this nonsense. So for all the people saying that, where are all the 9 and 10 win seasons that I'm missing here? Where are the 8, 9, 10, 11 win average per year win coaches on here? maybe take that into consideration before you type out a bunch of stupidity. And that's all I'm saying. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Am I off base? Are people a little off their marbles on the internet? Here's the thing. There's got to be some middle ground between we just need to run the triple option and fire a guy in his second year. Let me know what you think in the comments. Y'all have a good one.